Welcome to R or Him, where I got revenge on my jerk of a neighbor. The few days after the altercation, when I would come home and pull into the driveway, the jerk would walk out front and watch me pull into my garage. After the third time, I decided to let him taste his own medicine. I walk down to the curb and collect the mail, and as I am walking up I see jerk staring at me, so I just stop and stare right back. After about 5 seconds of staring him down with the bemused look on my face, he throws his hands up in the air like he is confused. He yells over to me that I don't have a problem, and I respond with, "Well, you keep watching me go in and out of my house like you have something you want to say." And he says, "Well, yeah, you tore me a new asshole the other day, which might be true. So I explained to him that the reason I am not willing to talk or work with him is because of how he treated us when we had to shovel snow, and that the only reason we had to shovel was because we were told he is the reason the snow removal service canceled, due to the way he parks his truck. He says this is the first he is hearing of this, and that no one told him that his truck being parked, there was an issue." At this point, I get a little apologetic for my rude outburst a few days earlier, because if he doesn't know, then I don't believe I can blame him. He agrees to give me his phone number or email so that I can contact him regarding issues with the private drive, and says he is willing to move his car for snow removal. He does derail and go on a few tangents regarding the elderly neighbor. Apparently they have been at each other's throats since jerk moved in, and he refuses to talk to the elderly neighbor. I explain that I'm not going to get in the middle of their squabbles, but from my perspective, the elder neighbor is helpful. He helped shovel snow and jerk did not. In the end, I told him I would take my yard waste a little further down, like he initially asked. The next day, contact the other neighbors and explained that jerk's stance is that he had no knowledge his truck was causing problems for the snow removal. The next day, the elderly neighbor puts a photocopy of a receipt he sent to jerk over a year ago in my mailbox. The receipt has a message for jerk that says the snow removal service is complaining about his truck and they are threatening to cancel service, which implies jerk lied to me that he had no knowledge his truck was an issue. A week goes by and I get a rude text message from jerk. It accuses me of putting additional yard waste in the area I agreed not to, and he says I am doing it just to piss him off. I respond with, "Check your facts. I didn't put anything there." He then does apologize for being rude and says it must be one of the other neighbors. That brings me to today. The way I see it, I should try to work with him and get along, but at the same time I'm not going to let him take advantage of my or the other neighbor's kindness. I believe in the iron rule. As long as he chooses to act like a jerk, he is going to deal with a jerk. Aita for not using my husband's hilarious gift. H29M and I26F have been married for 4 years. I had a great job in sales before COVID, but we found during the pandemic that things just worked better with H at work and me at home. He earns enough to support us both. I never thought I'd end up being a traditional wife, but given that he's the breadwinner, I sometimes feel as though I should pick up a lot of the slack at home. I'm not a great cook, but I'm sociable and enjoy being the hostess. When H has friends over to watch soccer, I prep a huge tray of snacks, keep the beers on ice, and pop in with drink and food top-ups during the game. I don't stay to watch, but I do ask the guys how they're doing, etc. Just polite chit-chat. They all seemed into it and often comment that H has done well to have such a great wife. It's a nice setup. Last week, H came home with a beautifully gift-wrapped box and said he'd got me a little something to wear when his friends are next over. I do my best to dress nicely when they're round, so I figured it would be a pretty dress or something. He had this huge grin on his face, so I was so excited. I opened the box to find a red latex mini dress and a ball gag. The gag was designed to look like a soccer ball, and the dress is in his team's color. I didn't know what to say at first. I was so confused. He's never been into anything like that. He's very vanilla. I asked if it was a joke, and at first he said no and told me his friends wouldn't believe how lucky he was if I walked in with the snacks like that. I can't remember what I said next, but then he told me it would be hilarious if I wore it and I should lighten up. I gave it a nervous laugh and told him I thought it was funny too. This morning, he put both items on my dresser and said he's looking forward to seeing me in them when the guys are round tomorrow. I reminded him that he said it was a joke. He got a bit sulky and said he can't believe I don't have a sense of humor. But from what he's saying, it sounds like he's expecting me to wear it. I'm so confused because one, I don't know if he's done this as a joke because his friends think I talk too much, or two, if he'd get off on me being humiliated. He says I'm being uptight and call me out for being an but I honestly don't think I'm unreasonable. Aita? Mother is upset. I use my first name in class. Obligatory. This happened about 2 years ago. I teach philosophy and epistemology to high schoolers. I'm also fairly young for a high school teacher. I introduce myself as Phi, my given first name which has been my given name since birth to my students. Well, I got an email from a parent reading, Malay Betancourt. This is Karen, and I'm Kevin's mother. I'm deeply disturbed that you allow students to call you by your first name and believe this is unprofessional and confuses children. My child's test scores clearly reflect this, as your class is the only one he is struggling in, and, as he has maintained an outstanding academic performance, it is clear that you are the problem. I highly suggest that, in order to better teach my child, you reflect on this and begin to use your professional name. So I responded, Karen, thank you for reaching out to me. I'm awfully glad you're so concerned with your child's performance in my class. As you might not be aware, I do not grade homework or tests as official standing, and they go only to show an empiricist view of one's performance. Don't worry, this means the grade you see in the system will be different from the final grade, as your child will have a 100% in my class. This was made clear in my syllabus. You should also note that I attach my comments for every assignment and include an annotated copy of your child's exams and essays so that they may see where they need to improve. If you have specifics about concepts your child is struggling with in ways that might better help him learn these concepts, I'd be more than happy to meet with you over coffee or tea to discuss with you. So she responds, the annotations are incredibly vague and abstract, and offer little insight into how my child, who is brilliant, may improve. However, see, you mark him wrong every time he refers to you as Maleditala Betancourt and replace it with Phi. It is illogical to ask of a child to indulge in using such a silly name. I highly advise you quit marking my child wrong for using your professional name in his essays. Likewise, I believe that as you are his teacher, you should use your professional name. So I decide to be petty and respond, thank you for your response. I appreciate how illogical and unsound your argumentation is, as this is a perfect example of Hume's law. I shall be using this to model in class examples of bad argumentation from now on. Thank you for the free class materials. I got a response back from her, but didn't respond. Edit. To the one person who tried to argue I should use my surname, you get a for effort, but a D+ for execution for falling victim to the same logical trap as the mother. Illy though, keep flexing them muscles, you'll get there eventually. There does exist a sound argument. How my wife ruined her mom's Mother Day by treating her like a mom. My Mill is an annoying person to say in the nicest way. She has extremely low self-worth, and she compensates that by forcing the world to go around her. As family who interact with her regularly, we are forced to treat her like a queen every day, every minute. If we don't, then there will be drama all the way from pouting, going to her room, fainting, leaving the house to full-blown breakdown, including saying, why should I live on this planet anymore if no one cares about me? Yeah. To see an old lady say she will kill her just because we don't give her few minutes of attention is a bizarre thing to witness. So it's exhausting to be around her. But what else can my wife and Sil do? She is their mom, and they both try the darn best to make her feel special, but they would also like to interact with her as their mom too. Just as some out-of-touch royalty, they would like to crack jokes, chat about general things, and share their problems, not having to be constantly worried what statement might tick her off. When they were kids in her orbit, things were fine as she controlled them, and that made her feel she is in the center of attention. Now, they are married, have family of their own, and that she is not the anchor of the family, She has started becoming more and more demanding that we perform some elaborate rituals to feel her special. That is extremely exhausting. So to the actual event itself: Mil/Phil have traveled to our country and are staying with us for a short time to help us with kids, as we all live halfway across the globe. My wife planned an elaborate Mother's Day event centered around Mil, even though she herself is a mom too. One of that included lunch in a popular ethnic cuisine restaurant. BW, had she not planned it herself, there will be a snarky comment at the end of day saying, "Seems you don't care about your mom enough to plan something for me. I was waiting the whole day for you to do something." Anyway, morning went uneventful, as we had been pampering the grown-up toddler, and Mil was quite jubilant. We go to the restaurant and I and our elder one go in to set up the table, as my wife is bringing the others, Mil, Phil, and our little one in. My 2 years old, the real toddler, decides to throw a tantrum for toddler reasons. But then Mil sees this beautiful garden in front of the restaurant and wants my wife to take her a pic. Mil doesn't care about anything and forces my wife to take several pics as my wife is holding a crying, fussing and kicking toddler in her hip. Having basked in the glory of being in the center of attention, Mil is satisfied enough. They all come in. My wife is ticked from the events, but tries her best to be cheerful. Waiter comes in to take the order, and right then Mil decides to go to restroom. My wife asks her to order before going, as kids will get hangry if we wait for long. Big mistake my wife did was she asked in a normal tone, a regular conversational tone, instead of a pleading or pleasing pampering tone. How dare we order her royalty on what to do? That was strike one. As me and my wife are looking at the bazillion choices and trying to order for kids, ourselves, spice level, etc., etc., we got absorbed into ordering without paying attention to the most important person. Mil wasn't the center of attention for 2 full minutes. How dare we? That's strike 2. We don't notice that and ask her what she wants. She asks if they have a particular ethnic dish, which is a regular staple we have almost every day at home, like a grilled cheese. SW, that too in an indifferent, meek tone. She was indirectly implying that she just a nobody cause of strike 1 and 2, so she is ordering some peasant food. That was our cue to realize our mistake, prostrate before her, beg her forgiveness, and bring the world back into alignment before things go down the hill. We fail to notice that change in tone, which is strike 3. Instead, my wife suggests, "Mom, we have that almost every day at home, so why don't you?" Mil cuts her off, saying, "I know that. Are you saying I don't know that?" and storms to the restroom. We all are figuring out what the F happened, and we finish ordering. Mil comes back and unloads onto my wife how she has disrespected her. We brought her to this country, and ever since then, a wife has made it her mission to do nothing but continuously humiliate her. And Mil starts crying. Quickly realized what had conspired, but my innocent wife, whose heart is only filled with love and not such evil games, doesn't realize drama. My Mil wants. Instead, she is trying to understand how suggesting that the dish is a regular staple at home is humiliating. And Mil goes, "You are implying I'm dumb and don't even know this. You have ruined Mother's Day. All daughters do special things on Mother's Day, and here you are ruining mine," and few other delectable quotes. My wife says again and again, "That's just a regular thing to say to your mom." But Mil is adamant that my wife humiliated her by implying she is dumb for not knowing it, the staple dish we regularly eat at home, and storms off to sit outside. Seriously, that was the entire discussion for full 5 minutes. It was extremely bizarre to see a 60-years woman to throw tantrum and accuse her daughter cause she said, "It's a regular staple we eat at home." Normally, we would run after her, apologize and beg her to come back, and keep apologizing throughout the lunch, which is what she wanted after 3 strikes. But this time, we were so over this bullshit, having been through similar ones many times. We just sat and ate in peace without an extra side of drama. But my wife was heartbroken. She does all this planning, wanted to be a good daughter, wanted her mom to feel special, and in the end has ruined Mother's Day by talking to her mom as a mom and not as a. So a 60-years-old woman started crying in the middle of lunch rush in a popular restaurant. All because we didn't give her attention for 5 minutes while we were busy ordering food for kids. There are hundreds of such stories, but this one of the clearest. WF just happened.